situation in your neighborhood. Now, allow yourselves, with whatever images you produce and whatever music you produce, to simply let go, relax. Deep breathing will accompany this idea, and just open up to sensing the vibrations of the neighborhood. And we will take you in this meditation as you feel yourself letting go and relaxing, letting in those things we will share with you, to a space above your planet, between the orbit of the Earth and the orbit of the Moon, about 100,000, 150,000 miles above the Earth. There is a very large, multi-level, saucer-shaped station that stays there and has been there for quite some time, and will continue to be there for quite some time. This very large spaceship, space station, contains many different groups of extraterrestrial beings working together or using it as a way station to help them in their observations and studies of Earth. And so we want to let you know of the existence of this craft that contains many levels and many chambers in which many different ET races coexist, come and go, as a port, as a station, to aid and assist them in their endeavors, while they all keep watch upon Earth, observing whatever they observe with their own agendas, taking that information and sharing it. Sometimes humans have been taken to this station. So what we are suggesting that you do right now in this meditation, as you relax even further, is to allow yourself to imagine that you are being lifted off the Earth in any way, shape, or form you prefer to, either with just your body on a beam of light or in a spacecraft, doesn't matter, and allow yourself to rise above the Earth until the Earth appears to be about the size of a soccer ball. And then see before you this giant circular silver saucer with its multi-levels gleaming in the sunlight, hanging, floating in space. And allow yourself to see that you are entering one of the chambers, arrival chambers, and disembarking into this station. And imagine yourselves walking through the different sections, through the different levels, going up, going down, on different tubular access vehicles that you would call elevator tubes, but with no particular enclosure, just rising or going down through these transparent tubes to the different levels, or walking around on the different decks in the different chambers, some of which may include spaces in which to eat, spaces in which to sleep for those that require those things, some of which are scientific laboratories, educational facilities, control centers, which allow you a view of Earth, monitors that may contain views of other planets to which many of these beings belong. And it doesn't matter at this point whether you are accurate in your depiction of the many beings that are walking around on the deck near you, passing by you, going about their business. Imagine whatever forms of aliens you wish, both humanoid and not. It doesn't matter right now. This will become more specific at a later time. But right now, we are simply encouraging you in this meditation to focus on the idea of how it feels to be on such a craft, on such a station that exists above your Earth, with all of these different beings going about their business, some of them acknowledging you, some of them simply passing by, allowing you to feel, to know that this is going on in your neighborhood, that this way station exists in your neighborhood for a variety of purposes, and that it will still continue to exist in this place as you yourselves begin to develop more ability, more awareness, and more efficacy at creating your own spacecraft that use universal powers and universal laws, so that one day in your own craft you may dock with this station and come aboard as a species and partake of the various races and interact with the various beings that also utilize this United Nations or United Planets craft, if you wish to look at it that way, where different beings are welcome to go about their business and interact, so that you simply know that these beings are in your neighborhood. Allow yourself the opportunity now to just explore. Pick up on whatever you're going to pick up on. See whatever it is your imagination allows you to see. Learn whatever it is your imagination allows you to learn about what is going on in the various endeavors that these beings may be undertaking. Just explore. Just feel the energy of exploration, of observation, of study, of learning, of knowledge, of wisdom, and expand that to the cosmos. For in this craft is a vast library of information and knowledge of the cosmos. Not only your neighborhood, but well beyond into other neighborhoods, and even into other star systems and other galaxies. Allow yourself to know that this exists. The greatest library in your neighborhood is 100,000 miles above your planet, and you can access this anytime you wish in your imagination. Let synchronicity and higher mind be your guides on this journey. And anytime you think of this and extend your consciousness to this station, to this meeting point, to this melting pot, to this beautiful silver shining craft with its multiple layers and multiple chambers, with all of these beings going about their business of learning and expanding themselves and their knowledge of existence by observing all of you as well. Allow yourself to participate and become part of this unity. Allow yourself to feel that you can belong to this alliance. Allow yourself to simply feel the expansion of knowledge and awareness that is going on, that is contained in this craft. Immerse yourself in it. Revel in it. Wallow in it. And absorb it in whatever way, shape, or form is comfortable for you. And feel not only the individualness, the diversity, the incredible diversity of all of the beautiful differences of all the individuals and representatives of their own races and planets and stars and galaxies, but also the unity and the harmony within this craft, and the beauty of the orchestration of synchronicity that exists within its walls, floating beautifully in space. Allow yourself now to simply return to Earth, knowing that this is there for you anytime you wish to visit it in your imagination or out of body, in your astral form. It is there for you to participate in, to feel that you belong to, and to enjoy, because it is part of your neighborhood and will be here for you for many, many years to come. Allow yourself now to simply relax back into your environment of Earth, and now be able to see more clearly both perspectives of not only living on the surface of your world, but also seeing your world from that vantage point of that station, through the eyes of all of those races as they gaze upon you, as they observe you, as they learn from you, and expand their knowledge of the cosmos through you. See yourself in both places simultaneously, because you are. For many of you may have counterparts on that station, observing their counterparts on the surface of the Earth. Feel the lines of connection and energy that anchor them to the Earth and you to them. and allow yourself to walk upon the earth in your path with renewed understanding and feelings of connection that you belong to a vast neighborhood of many different kinds of diverse individuals who are all sharing similar purposes of expanding their awareness and their knowledge, and that you can participate in this expansion as well. Breathe it in and crystallize this relationship with you and them, and allow yourself to participate and feel the participation more and more every day from two different vantage points as you become more aware of more of yourself. Allow yourself to breathe gently and easily now. And in both locations, we extend to you our unconditional love and our welcome to your home. Welcome home. Welcome to the neighborhood. Welcome to the awareness of what is going on more and more around you that may have been heretofore invisible, but is becoming more visible every day. And we will help, along with others, guide you into more recognition and more awareness of the different beings and the different races that are interacting in your neighborhood with you, so that you can feel more connected to the galactic family to which you actually belong, and more aware and capable of expanding yourself to see from those more lofty perspectives, as well as from the earth, and as well as feeling and experiencing yourself as an extension of nature, not only of the earth, but of many different worlds and of the cosmos itself. Welcome home, welcome home, welcome home. Our unconditional love and support to you all, and we bid you an exciting day of exploration, self-discovery, and play, and remind you all once again that the first step toward true enlightenment is to always lighten up on yourselves. Don't judge yourselves negatively. You don't deserve it. Don't take things too seriously. Relax and go with the flow, because your flow knows exactly where you need to go. Good day.
And that version of me were to not shift out. And by that logic, could there be 100 versions of me all in the same reality at the same time?
The short answer is yes, it's a possible experience. We can't say that it's necessarily a probable experience for most individuals, but there are ways in which you do connect to parallel reality selves to inform the life that you are living in this particular reality or timeline. We will go into more detail about parallel realities in the next future transmission, which we will call Parallel Realities and You. But that will be upcoming in what you call your future, which is another parallel reality.
Hello, Bashar. How are you?
Perfect. And you?
Excellent.
All right. What would you like to discuss?
I was in Egypt a few months ago, and I saw many interesting, mysterious things. One of them was the Serapeum at Saqqara. It's an underground structure that has 24 huge sarcophagi made of granite, and each of them is about 70 tons in weight. I'm just curious, who made these sarcophagi and what were they used for?
Some things have been used for the idea of coffins, but only after the life. During the life, they're used to provide a vibrational chamber that allows for more efficacy and more probability at having out-of-body experiences and gaining knowledge on the spiritual realm.
Interesting.
They are created with ancient knowledge from Atlantean times, which goes back even further in their encounters with extra-dimensional beings, where they got some of that knowledge, but in their own out-of-body explorations also gathered the knowledge that they then passed on to the Egyptian and many other cultures after the destruction of Atlantis by the survivors.
Mm-hmm. So were they built around the same time as the Great Pyramid?
Some of them were, and some of them are later, but eventually the knowledge was lost.
Okay. And the new chamber that was discovered in the Great Pyramid, what was its purpose?
It added to the resonance of the Great Pyramid as a resonating chamber. There are certain kinds of ratios and relationships between those chambers in the Great Pyramid that enhance certain frequencies that allow for higher probability of experiencing both out-of-body and higher mind meditational experiences. And also provide resonance for different forms of energy that the ancients also were able to siphon off of the intact pyramids, which it can only now deliver partially because the pyramid is not completely intact. But it also created certain kinds of vibrations that could be transformed into certain forms of energy, including electricity, which the ancients were capable of using to a limited degree.
Okay. Are there other chambers in the Great Pyramid that will be discovered in the future?
Yes.
Okay. And I have a question about Atlantis. In 2001, a sunken city was discovered off the west coast of Cuba at a depth of about 2,000 feet. Was this an Atlantean colony?
Yes.
And how did it sink so low?
Well, you have to understand that the waters of the ocean rose a lot. So not only were there seismic tremors that allowed certain portions of their colonies to sink, the oceans also rose because of the ice caps melting.
Okay. And what was the name of this city and what was it known for?
It was mostly a trade city, an agricultural city. One moment. Its most ancient name was Kakara. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Did it sink at the same time as the main city of Atlantis?
In portions over periods of time. But again, it's not just that it sunk. Remember, the oceans rose because of the ice melt, but the main tsunami that wiped out most of the main portion of Atlantis and some of its colonies came from a cometary impact into the Atlantic Ocean. That's what caused the main destruction.
Okay.
Then, because of the climate change that occurred after the impact and the idea of the great floods that occurred because of the ice melts and the tsunamis, then over time the oceans rose.
Yes. Okay. Another question is it true that 3,000 years ago in India, people had anti-gravity technology and flying craft?
A few of them did, yes. Not everyone. It wasn't absolutely common, but a few of the upper echelons and priestess level did.
So what happened to that technology? How did it get lost?
It was forgotten over time because many of them were used for destructive purposes, and many of them were actually destroyed, and the information as to how to rebuild them was long gone.
Mm-hmm.
They were more ancient craft that were sort of handed down, but the means of perpetuating them and maintaining them had already been lost. That information does still exist in ancient scrolls you haven't yet discovered that are buried.
Yes, they talk about the Vimanas.
Yes.
And when will we have anti-gravity technology again on Earth?
The highest probability is at least sometimes within the next 30 to 50 years in the way that you're describing it. It can be sooner in terms of borrowing it from other cultures after open contact, but you yourselves will generally understand the concept and be able to manufacture certain forms of those crafts within the next few decades of time at the most. Now, you could have had it already, but certain events transpired on your planet to prevent the people from being born who would have created the idea you're calling anti-gravity, which is not exactly anti-gravity, but we understand what you mean. It's more resonant relocation. It's more resonant space-time relocation is what you're referring to as anti-gravity. It's not really anti-gravity.
So those people were born in a different timeline and not in ours?
Yes, because of certain events in your timeline that prevented their birth, such as wars and so on and so forth.
I see. And is there a concern in your society that if we get this technology now, it may be used for the wrong purposes?
It is not a concern. It is simply a recognition that you may use it for negative purposes. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, thank you very much. That's all the questions I have.
All right. We thank you. Our deep appreciation and Aveo.
Aveo.
Hello, Bashar. You said the definition of abundance is the ability to do what I need when I need. So it's not about what I want, but what I need. Could you please clarify these two terms? Because I can imagine I know what I want, but I don't know what I need. And also, if I know what I need, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's supposed to be comfortable. So where is the place for joy? How the excitement and passion is related to this? Could you please clarify that? Thank you.
Well, first of all, we make the differentiation between what you want and what you need, because sometimes what you want can be an ego structure desire that isn't necessarily aligned with what you truly need in life for your joy, for your comfort. And you must watch your definitions, because when you say that what you need might not give you joy, that's a contradiction in the true definition of what you need. Because if you get what you need, it will always be comforting and always give you joy, because you will feel fulfilled by getting what you truly need. Whereas asking for what you want and receiving what you want will not always allow you to feel joy and happiness, because what you want, again, might be coming from a negative place in the ego that may or may not be really aligned with the idea of what you truly need that will give you fulfillment. So the idea is the 7 basic needs in life, as we have said, for physical thriving are that you need air, you need water, you need sleep, you need food, you need the idea of some form of shelter or pleasant environment that is life-supporting. You need the idea of connection or relationship to something, whether it's another human or not is not the point. And you need the idea of self-expression, your creative expression, in other words, that which dovetails into following your passion. If you are fulfilled in getting the air, the food, the water, the sleep, the idea of shelter, the idea of connection, the idea of expression of your true self, you will be fulfilled, and that will give you joy. What you want can sometimes coincide with what you need, and that's fine if it does. But the idea is to have a definition of attracting what you need, which are simple, basic things that everyone needs to thrive in physical reality, and those things will always make you feel fulfilled. So that is the basic difference, is to allow yourself to want what you need, and you will always be fulfilled.
Organize themselves to pursue a bigger goal, a common goal, yeah, but more bigger goal and common goal. I'm curious how I could translate this to organization development, in supporting organizations in their transformations in alignment with the 5 laws, and for people to be able to realize their talents and passions in realizing this bigger goal and creating abundance. I'm also curious how the Trinity manifests in the organizations, especially the neutral one. Thank you.
Well, again, by using the formula, one of the aspects of your life that starts to shape your life is synchronicity. You start to realize that everything is synchronicity. You look at it and experience it in a sense, first and foremost, from a neutral point of view, just recognizing that everything is an orchestration. Everything is connected. There are no accidents. And from that neutral observation that everything is connected, everything is an expression of one thing, then you can start allowing the expression of emotion to ride along with it, to feel the joy of that connection, the joy of that orchestration, the ecstasy of those interconnected communications, and allow yourself to experience the idea of the reflection of synchronicity in your life that says, do this first, do this next, do this now, 1, 2, 3. By bringing the experiences to you in the order in which they contain the highest amount of passion, the highest amount of attraction, the highest amount of curiosity, creativity, inspiration, and joy. Let it organize things in that way. That's how you do that, until suddenly you start functioning in pure synchronism, being always at the right place at the right moment in exactly the perfect timing, interacting with exactly who you need to interact with, doing exactly what you need to do at that particular perfect moment in time. It will happen that way eventually. It may take some practice, that's okay. Let the process unfold naturally. But basically, that's how you do it. You start from the neutral place of understanding. Everything is an orchestration, whether it appears to be or not. There are no accidents. Everything is connected. There's a reason why everything is happening. It may not always have to do mostly with you. You may be participating in something for someone else, getting something out of it that's more important for them than it is for you personally. But that doesn't mean it's not important that you participate in a gathering that may help someone else make a realization that helps their soul grow and move forward on their path. It's still a dance. It's still an orchestration. You're there for a reason. It's not an accident where you find yourself. So once you start acknowledging it from that balanced point, that neutral point, then you can start finding the things that are personally synchronistic for you as well, because you're included in that dance. And if you open up to it, opportunities and situations will arise that will contain the passion, the curiosity, the attractiveness that will let you know, all right, this one is for you, and this one is for you. But you will still participate in things that are for others as well, because part of the idea is that you are of service to humanity by being part of the orchestration. And then your life just gets organized that way.
Hello.
Good day. Good day.
Good day to you. Nice to meet you, Bashar.
And you as well. What would you like to discuss this day?
Yes. I have a question concerning out-of-body experience.
Yes.
And I've been having many experiences actually, in where I am in the vibrational state at the gate, let's say at the door of moving out of my body.
Yeah.
And also multiple experiences in which I was outside of my body, floating at the ceiling, floating on top of my house.
All right. So what's your question?
My question is, I'm a very curious person, curious being, and I want to explore that realm. But I've never been able, because it happens spontaneously, I've never been able to control it or put myself at ease that I can go easily out of my body.
But you say you're already experiencing being out of your body. So when you actually experience being out of your body, what do you do?
Well, when I'm stuck.
How are you stuck? How do you think you need to explore other realms?
By moving my energetic body somewhere.
No, not by moving. All you have to do is imagine being in another place and you'll be there. You're thinking of it in physical terms. I have to move. You don't. You just have to imagine feeling that you're somewhere else. Picture that you're somewhere else, and you will be there. Movement is not the same in those realms as it is in physical reality, so you can't think of it in the way that you would think of it if you were a physical being. So the next time you find yourself floating on the ceiling or floating above your house, imagine another place that you're familiar with, someplace on your planet, or even imagine being out among the stars or being above the earth. Just picture it and you'll be there.
All right.
That's all you have to do.
That's very helpful. Thank you.
Yes.
I would also like to ask another question.
Yes.
And it's concerning here on Earth, at a certain point in life, people start to have children.
Yes, sometimes.
Natural thing that occurs. But I'm 32 right now. Many friends of mine having kids, and I love kids. It's such a joy.
Yes.
But I'm doubtful. And I was wondering.
You're doubtful about what?
To have or not have children.
Then don't worry about it. If you've made an agreement to have children, nothing will stop it from happening at the exact correct time. If you haven't made an agreement to have children, then you won't have children. Just let your life unfold by following the formula, following your passion, and let it happen when you've already agreed that it should, because those things have already been determined by your spirit before you incarnated.
Mm-hmm. And what about birth control? If I take the pills, then I won't, Don't
worry about that either. Again, if you're supposed to have children, then something will happen where you either wind up not taking it and you'll feel that you don't wish to take it, or it won't matter that you take it because things that are supposed to happen can supersede some of the physical elements on your planet anyway. There have been many people that have been told by your doctors they cannot have children, and yet they do. So don't worry about the idea of the physical parameters. Something will synchronistically occur that will make it possible if you've made that agreement. All you have to do is go with the flow and just trust your feelings and instincts at every given moment.
I will. That is a nice thing to hear.
Don't worry about it.
All right. One last question. I'm a dancer and my life is dancing. I teach dance, I perform. Yes. And I notice in the world, the arts in any way, shape, or form are very a necessity, are very well here on this earth. And I was wondering what the meaning of arts in any shape or form is on an earthly level or on a cosmic level.
Art is a basis for self-reflection, for communication, to put one in touch with oneself and how one responds to the art.
Mm-hmm.
So art is a mirror.
Yes. And do you have arts in other?
Absolutely. Many different kinds. I myself am a sculptor, as well as being a first contact specialist.
And how does that visualize? What does that look like?
There are many different things it can look like. We can form certain materials spontaneously that are nanomaterials, what you would call a kind of metallic crystalline substance that can be formed into many different shapes. And the idea is that certain sculptures can be made so that they change shape with the person that is observing it, to literally reflect what is going on in that person in their observation of it. So it literally functions like a kind of symbolic mirror.
So if I'm understanding this correctly, the art that is being shaped by what the person that's looking at it.
Yes.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Yes, we think so.
I hope I can experience that.
There are forms that you can create that will react and respond to people in different ways. Some of it may include electronics and so on and so forth, until such time as you actually develop physical materials that will respond the way I am telling you ours respond. But there are many ways to do it. So use your creative imagination and see what you can come up with. Certainly dance itself is something that can be interactive and a two-way street, so that the response of the audience can change the way that you dance in the moment, if you are receptive to the mood of the audience.
Ooh, that's a very nice inspiration.
All right. See what you can do with that.
Yes. Thank you so much, Bashar.
You are so welcome. Anything else?
No, that's it for today.
All right. Then happy dancing.
Thank you so much.
Greetings, Bashar. I was wondering if you could kindly discuss with us what a typical day entails for an adult being on your planet. The reason I'm interested in is most adult humans, especially in the West, have to wear different hats on a given day, between, dividing our time between sleeping, working, being, a family member, such as a parent, a kid, a sibling, etc., and creating some personal time off to find more joy in life. Sometimes it's a bit tricky to wear all these hats, so I was wondering if you would have any words of wisdom in terms of compartmentalizing our day to find that joy, to create that joy more. Thank you.
Again, it's not about compartmentalizing. It's about allowing synchronicity to be the organizing principle so that one experience flows into another more naturally. It's not about finding time to experience personal joy. It's about choosing those things that allow you to experience personal joy in the entirety of your life, every moment, even though things may be different expressions at different times and may be representative of different relationships that you have and different communications and different experiences that you have that all fall within the idea of your personal joy. It's not about saying, well, I have to do this and I have to do that, and I get these little tiny moments where I can be personal for myself to find joy for myself. If it's not all joyful, you're not going about it in the way that we suggest by following the formula, and you're not allowing synchronicity to be the organizing principle that allows you to flow smoothly from one event to the other, one experience to the other, in a way that is overall joyful for you. That means you're not being your natural self. So be your natural self. Follow the formula. Let synchronicity organize the things that are important and relevant for your life experience, and you will ultimately discover that every single one of those things can be experienced perhaps in a slightly different way than what you're doing it now, but can be experienced in a joyful way that's correct for you, as well as everyone else involved. Well, again, if you actually are living in the vibration of your passion, the things that you need, including things like rest and entertainment, relaxation, would synchronistically be obvious to you as part of your passion, part of your excitement, when they are necessary for bodily replenishment and so on and so forth. In much the same way that you know when it's time to eat when you are hungry. So when you are truly living in your passion, there will be other kinds of senses that you will develop that will tell you, now it's time to rest, in the same way that you have a signal that now it's time to eat because you feel hungry. So the idea is to include all of those things in the vibration of your passion and let synchronicity organize them all in a way that allows you to hone your senses to be able to tell when certain things are necessary within your passion, within your excitement.
So also what you're saying, I guess, is that as long as the more precise you are in following the formula, the more accurate your interpretations of the signals you receive will be. For example, if a person is having issues with their weight, they might get constant signals that it's time to eat, but that's more of a reflection of being out of balance.
Yes.
But if you're following the formula more precisely and you are experiencing the higher vibrational state that comes with your passion, where everything falls into place, where everything is synchronistically aligned, then you will receive those messages in a balanced way.
Yes, because if you pay attention to people who are following their passion, just to use the example we have already suggested, you will recognize that sometimes people will hardly ever feel hungry. They will feel hungry when they need to. They will not feel excessively hungry because they are so focused on their passion that they're getting energy and getting support in another way. And then when they truly need sustenance to support their body, then and only then will they start to feel hungry. They will feel hungry no other time.
So if you look at the human beings you've been interacting with for a long time, and you see their progress in terms of utilizing the formula and becoming more and more precise at it, Are there sort of like stages that people go through with it so that at some point you cross a line and you're actually so much more accurate than you might have been in the beginning when you were misinterpreting anxiety for passion, etc.?
Yes, of course there are stages. Stages of understanding, stages of, as you say, wrapping your mind around something, really making it real for you, really having a knowing of how it works. Again, it goes through stages in much the same way that you learn how to walk as a child. There are the stages where you're simply lying flat. There are the stages when you begin to move around and crawl. There are the stages when you finally balance yourself enough to walk. There's the stage when you finally learn to balance yourself enough to run. And then there are the stages when you finally achieve things that you consider to be certain forms of athletics, where you can leap and bound and do other things, somersault and so on and so forth. So yes, there are energetic stages like that in our observations of people and their understanding levels of the formula. We can tell when you're crawling, we can tell when you're walking, we can tell when you're running, we can tell when you're leaping.
How can you help us know where we are in terms of our progress on that, like what stage we're at?
We can only assist you by helping you to understand how to clarify your own self-investigations about why you believe what you believe and what's holding you back in your belief system. What it is that prevents you from having a clear understanding of the principles of the formula. So that's how we help you, by clearing out your attic of any beliefs that are holding you back from your pure understanding of the formula.
So basically, since we're manifesting all the time,
Yes.
It's all based on when you manifest something, how you react to it, how you respond to it, where you get confused, where you get clarity. And that's what really shows you what stage you're at in terms of working with these concepts.
Yes.
Great. And this is a person asking about the formula, so let me see if, okay, if someone hasn't been following their excitement for a while and then they start to follow it again in any given moment, what happens? And you said that the only way to miss an appointment that's meant for you is to worry about missing it.
Yes.
Can you expand on what happens if someone misses an appointment? Does it queue back up again and come back around for another opportunity?
Yes, it always does, if you're paying attention, if you're willing to understand that that is happening. You will always be given another opportunity. Now, that doesn't mean it's not possible to simply miss it for the entire lifetime. Because if you keep refusing the opportunities, if you go into a negative vibration that makes it almost impossible for you to see the opportunities because you're not on a vibratory level to perceive them, then yes, that can happen for an entire lifetime. And then when you are non-physical, when you go into spirit and look at your life review, you might go, oh, look at all the missed opportunities. Look at all the times I could have been willing to pay attention to the opportunities, but I just didn't. But you will still learn a lesson from that. So there is always another opportunity to learn the lesson, always another opportunity to choose something where you can apply the information and the knowledge of that lesson. Whether you are still physical or not is not the key. It's whether or not you simply arrive at a point ultimately where you're finally recognizing that there is an opportunity to learn the lesson and do something with it.
So when you reach the stage of the formula where you're expressing a higher level of precision, what are some of the kinds of things that can happen in that circumstance? And does that then indicate that when you're looking at scenarios outside of yourself, or apparently outside of yourself, that are negative, where it's war or all of these kinds of things, once you're in that higher vibrational state, does it mean that you are actually looking through the glass wall at these activities, and that you need to know that when you're in that higher vibrational state?
When you are in that vibrational state, you are operating on synchronism in the same way that we do. You see reality for what it is, your projection of consciousness. You explore everything with curiosity. Nothing makes you react in a negative way. You remain neutral and positive in your approach to everything. You act immediately and fully on every opportunity that represents your excitement and your passion. You are your true self, and you feel transparent to yourself and are willing to look at everything within yourself and accept everything that manifests in your life as an opportunity to experience more and more expansion and more knowledge. You start really becoming lucid in the physical reality dream.
Sounds wonderful.
It is.
Yeah, yes, it is. Yes, it is. Now, this person is telling a personal story that they have, and I will give this information. She says that she was a prostitute 10 years ago,
Yes.
And she got caught by a lot of people, but she healed herself, and she's a different person now. And she's tried to let go of her past, but people still remember who she was. So everyone who knows me has heard about it, is what she says. And meeting new people, even abroad, they seem to become discovering of her past. So she wants to understand, how can she be present and forgive herself, because it's now causing her to be afraid to start something new, because she feels like it'll just keep coming back and haunting her.
All right. Well, there's two ways to approach this. First of all, she herself may not be really letting go of that persona if she really truly wishes to. So she may be walking into new relationships in fear that she is going to bring that persona forward, or that someone is going to know about that persona. So she's holding on to the persona for some reason. She has to look at her belief systems about what she's getting out of doing that and really truly let it go if it really doesn't belong to her anymore. She has a different past if she's truly a different person. The idea that someone might point it out to her, might quote unquote remember who she was, is simply an opportunity for her to see if she's still reacting to it in the same old way, or saying, but that's not who I am. The second approach to this can be to remind people that everyone was a different person in the past, no matter what it is they expressed, no matter who it is they were being. So just as someone might point out to her that she was different in the past, then she can point out to them, but so were you. Who did you used to be in the past that you no longer are? Can we relate to each other as people in the present and let go of the past? Can we simply be here now? So that's the two approaches. She has to find out if she's holding on to that past persona for some reason that she believes serves her, or if she's just testing herself to see if she can let it go. And at the same time can remind others who pointed out to her that they themselves also have past selves that they may not be letting go of, or that they have let go of, and to simply exist in the present, because what purpose does it serve to relate to someone who is no longer in the present?
Reflections in the world that appear misaligned with our true selves, automatically internalizing everything. The idea of handling it alone and feeling responsible for the entire world seems like excessive pressure.
You are not responsible for anyone, let alone the entire world. You are only responsible to them to be yourself. Reflections that come to you, that show up in your life, that may be vibrationally incompatible with what you prefer, is not always a one-to-one reflection indicating that you are dealing with the same issues. The idea may be that someone is coming to you in your life because the reflection is that you're willing to be of assistance to them, to help them, to give them more options, to choose different things that may work better for them. So this is one of the great misunderstandings that people on your planet have about this concept, is they think that just because someone shows up in your life that may be reflecting certain kinds of vibrationally incompatible or negative or fear-based issues means that you are harboring the same things. This is not the case. You have to discern whether or not whatever they bring to you, whatever shows up in your life, could be information that would be applicable in your life, that would better you, but you get to decide with honest self-investigation whether or not that is the case. And if you find out that it isn't the case, then the reflection is simply that you have been willing to allow someone vibrationally incompatible into your life to be of assistance to them, to give them the option to change their frequency, to be more of who they are, to be of help to them by offering them more opportunities, more pathways than they may have considered. So that's what is meant by reflections. It isn't, again, just a one-to-one idea.
Okay, that's very helpful. Can you speak about discernment in a world of reflections? If everything and everyone is love reflecting back at us, can we just trust and believe everything that's reflected to us by the world and others? Or do we still need to pay attention to what resonates and feels right and true for us? How would you say we can tell the difference?
Again, when you have honest self-investigation and hone your skills at being able to tell the difference between what is vibrationally compatible with your core essential frequency and what is not, then it will be easy for you to discern what is true for you and what is not. Again, you may attract things into your life to test yourself, to see whether or not you are willing to stand up for what you know is true for you. But again, you have to have honest self-reflection and self-investigation to know the difference between resistance to what is true for you or acceptance to what is not true for you, to find out why you would accept something that is not true for you or why you would resist something that is. Once that is clear, then you will have keener discernment about what is vibrationally compatible with your truth and what is not. It'll be easy to tell the difference between what is registering as your excitement and what is registering as your anxiety, which is the sign that something is out of alignment with who you really are, even if it occurs within yourself. The ability to tell the difference between excitement and the vibration of anxiety is the key. And again, honest self-investigation will improve your skills at telling the difference.
And can you talk about how and why we get different kinds of reflections of the people in our lives? How we can turn towards allowing more clear and positive reflections and responding more clearly to it all ourselves as well?
Again, it's not about insisting on more positive reflections, because again, it shouldn't matter what happens, because you will always get a benefit out of it if you stay in a positive state. This is the fourth principle of the formula. So it's not just about getting positive reflections, because this is the time of choosing. This is the time of allowing yourself to see all different forms of choice, all different consequences of choice, so that you can determine for yourself what you are vibrationally compatible with and what you're not vibrationally compatible with. So it's not just about only seeing positive reflections. It's about using the reflections in a positive way.
That's very helpful.
All right.
Can you talk about how we can best forgive ourselves and others for the reflections that have seemed painful, overwhelming, or confusing to us, and allow things to be clearer?
Well, again, the idea of holding on to a grudge, not forgiving, is the perpetuation of the energy that you say you don't prefer. The original context of forgiveness is to stop seeking revenge or retribution against a situation or a person. So as long as you seek the idea of revenge, of retribution, of making people pay for what happened, then you are connecting yourself and anchoring yourself to the negative energy, the fear-based energy that you say you would like to let go of. So forgiveness is the act of truly letting go and disconnecting from things that allow you to continue to create negative energy within your own energy field. Forgiveness is freedom, is freeing yourself from anything in the past that you feel affected you, because you have to recognize that since you are your own reality, really what's happening is You're only feeling your own energy. You're only affecting yourself by agreeing with someone who was offering you a negative scenario, a negative vibration. So forgiveness is letting go of holding on to that negative vibration. It is the cessation of punishing yourself and punishing them for having created the experience. If you truly wish to be free, then forgive and let go and learn the lesson therein that will allow you to move forward. God, Goddess, Allah, Jehovah, Tetragrammaton, the light, the I am that I am, Wakantanka. It doesn't really matter what it is that you use as a name to identify the concept of all that is. But it is important to understand that all of these names represent different archetypal expressions, different angles and different perspectives of the same one thing, so that all of your apparently separate religions, no matter how they present themselves, no matter how many symbols they use to represent the idea of God or aspects of God, are all talking about the same thing, but from different points of view that serve the uniqueness of the culture in which they live. But the idea is to understand that it all comes from source, it all is within the light. And the light, source, all that is, expresses itself in all these ways in order for there to be sufficient symbols for all the different cultural experiences on your planet, all the different individual experiences even within a culture on your planet. As we have said, the misinterpretation of what you have called, in one particular Judeo-Christian culture, the Ten Commandments, are really the messages that were delivered in a very different way that have been misunderstood, misquoted, because of the level of understanding that existed in the culture at the time. And the so-called First Commandment, I am the Lord your God, thou shalt not have false gods before me, really was a mistranslation and a misunderstanding of the idea that really would be more accurately represented as, I am that I am, and all reflections are me, therefore none can be false before me, for I am all that is. So the idea is to understand that all that is presents itself in a variety of archetypal forms, the father energy, the mother energy, God, Goddess, all that is, as you sometimes say. And these serve various functions and translate into your reality as, shall we say, smaller representations of all that is that are specifically designed to deal with specific cultural differences, specific ideology differences, specific individual interpretations and differences. Fundamentally speaking, the archetypes are all that is way of making sure that no matter what angle you approach all that is from, you will have a symbol and a representation that can serve your unique perspective. They are all true parts of all that is, because there's nothing outside of all that is. Anything you can experience as an archetypal representation, or even when you assume it is the entire representation of all that is true and accurate, because all that is everything that can possibly be. There's no outside to it. There is nothing that is not it. So it doesn't really matter how you relate, what relationship you form with the idea of any presentation of all that is, any idea or formation of the idea of God, be it the old man with the long beard, be it the idea of the Virgin Mother, be it the idea of a rock or a mountain. It matters not to all that is, because all that is all those things, and more, beyond even your imagining. For all that is in its archetypal presentations also forms the symbols that are relatable to not only your particular human culture, but many cultures throughout the cosmos, throughout infinity. Anything and everything, being a reflection of all that is, has its own way of understanding the presentation of archetypes from source, has its own representations that make sense to their cultures. So there are an infinite variety of presentations of all that is, but it is still the same one thing fundamentally. But as you expand your consciousness and start to realize that all of these are different faces of the same thing,